Geordies in the Champions League. Newcastle United have started their European journey with a 0-0 draw at the San Siro. This is a last word not to be missed. It is an incredible couple of days, and me and Lee will dissect the match. This is the last word. Yes, welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV. Make sure you hit a like on this video and subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV. It's nearly 12 o'clock Italian time. We're doing this video and we've got to be up at 3:30 in the morning Italian time to grab a plane. So we'll be quick. We'll try and go through as much of it as possible. But Lee, before we go to the starting lineups, getting to the San Siro and getting in, how did you find that?
I think we knew that we're going to be asked about, apologies about my voice, we've had a long night, walking, taxis. I think we all knew that we were going to get searched for passport. I think it was fair. What we expected. And, you know, the police, whatever you think of them, are there for our security as well as Milan's as well. So, a bit of a faff on that we had to go all the way to the top to walk down again. But I understand with the safety measures in place. And obviously I was joking on in the vlog, which you would have seen. We're going to meet the ultras, and all this sort of stuff. But thankfully, touch wood, as we record, that there hasn't been any more troubles in around Milan. So, but coming out was, we are all a little bit doubtful because we obviously knew what happened the other night with a fan called Eddie who was unfortunately attacked by thugs. So, we didn't want anyone happening that to us, to anyone around us. So, thankfully, no dramas.
Our thoughts are with Eddie and his family at this time because, again, at this moment in time, there seems to be good news in that he's actually recovering. But again, still, obviously, must be very, very traumatic under the circumstances. But we'll talk about the game in a second. But going into the ground, my God, it's like level 7 times 3. What we had to do. Like, there we go. Look at that Champions League.
More mental.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But players warmed up, and with the team news came out, it was the same back four that we kind of expected. Nick Pope, of course, in goal. The midfield, Sandro Tonali replaced Elliot Anderson. Bruno and Sean Longstaff remained in that midfield, but there was a couple of changes, particularly going forward, that were very, very interesting. Anthony Gordon kept his place, but moved to the left-hand side. But it was Alexander Isak, maybe more surprisingly, Jacob Murphy. Why do you think Eddie Howe decided to go with Jacob Murphy on the right-hand side?
Couldn't tell you. It hasn't been seen for the last 3 games. Featured just sitting on the bench, hasn't came off it. Obviously, he's obviously missed his congratulations, gave birth a few weeks back, and obviously missed that game. But I thought it was a little bit strange, a little bit bizarre. Excuse me, I've got a cough. All that whacking.
I've got a theory.
What, about my cough?
No, about Jacob Murphy. I think Jacob Murphy started because of Theo Hernandez and who. And
I reckon Miggy is better defensively because he grafts.
I think it's more pace. I think he tried to match the pace, and I think that was probably the reason why Jacob Murphy got the nod. But I do agree, it's a bit difficult for Jacob Murphy to come in when he's only played 15 minutes of football. He played the last 15 minutes against Aston Villa, and like you say, we haven't seen him since. So it was a big call by Eddie Howe, and we'll touch about that sort of decision towards the end of the last word. But the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes seemed to take ages, and AC Milan could have been 3-4-0 up, and Nick Pope's kept us in it in the first half in particular, with saves from corners, from shots from outside the box. It was kind of all sorts of different saves. In Newcastle, they were hanging on a little bit. In the defence were getting cut apart a little bit, and Theo Hernandez was as a left-back playing as a number 10 at times. Rafael Leao had a little bit of joy. Giroud was causing a bit of nuisance towards our defence as well. It was important that Newcastle had to cope and get through that, and they did just about.
Yeah, hanging on. That's literally, we were hanging on. I think Milan peppered were. I really do. We've had a little bit of a debate in our WhatsApp saying that wasn't good first half. I generally feel it wasn't. I think Carl's with the same as me. I think Adam and Liam in the WhatsApp saying we've played well. I don't think we did really, because it was all one-way traffic. I looked at the attempts, it was 16 against 2. It was all one way. In fact, realistically, Milan should have scored. I mean, the Giroud one, near post, free. The Leao one, he was free. And the time where he's going past a couple of players, and if I'm a Milan fan, I'm like, fucking in it, shoot. It's like, it's frustrating. It's very ASM like, trying to take on an extra player. I want an extra player. And obviously we cleared one off the line as well, Jacob Murphy. So maybe he was thinking, maybe for that he's done well. But I was worried. I thought the goal was going to come. I really did.
Yeah, and like I say, it was a case of can Newcastle get through this, and they did just about. And in terms of a Newcastle point of view, what chances did they have? Sean Longstaff was appealing for a penalty. It was a slight push in the back, but not enough to really warrant a penalty claim. Jacob Murphy had Newcastle's only real opportunity of any note in the first half, where his left foot curling effort was just over the cross. Well, I say just over. It was always dragging wide and over the crossbar. But Newcastle got half time 0-0, and that was a real result. That was a real result at half time. Second half, Newcastle started a little bit better. I thought they kind of had a little bit more possession. They were going a little bit forward without really testing the goalkeeper at all. But Milan had the best opportunity at the start of the second half, crossing the right hand side, free header in the box.
Is that Rafael Leao again?
Yeah, I think he has to score for me. I think if I'm a Milan fan, I want that in the back of the net. But in terms of what Nick Pope had to do, Lee, the shots that he did have at him was straight at him, and there were shots that you would expect Nick Pope to save. Yeah,
definitely. He was more busy at first half by a mile. Mm-hmm. Second half, we were much better disciplined, more organised. We had a bit of fight, I would say. And the Leao one, if that falls to Drew, I think that's a goal, because that's just on his play. It's it's the likes of Nobby Solano crossing Alan Shearer. It's one of those crosses, and I think that change that Pioli did, that Florenzi one, was perfect, because at that time during the game, Eddie Howe switched it. He moved Isak to the left, and defensively, that's where they were going. Mm-hmm. Isak wasn't interested helping out defensively. He's great going forward, and I do understand the sub moving Wilson in, but that was a problem for me. And there was constantly crosses coming in that right hand side, and I thought, Howie, if he's got to stop the cross, and we didn't loads of times.
Yeah, Newcastle going forward, I think frustrating was probably the correct word. I think decision making was poor.
Yeah.
By all our wingers today that were involved. I think everybody was guilty of it, and look, in terms of what Newcastle had to offer, they weren't really offering a lot. There was a cross on the right hand side from Jacob Murphy, was just punched well away from the goalkeeper, because Alexander Isak was going to get on the far post, but that was what was the best real opportunity until the very last minute. And we've all been probably discussing who scores that first Champions League goal for Newcastle, because it's been like 20 years, of course, since the last time Newcastle were in there. And I think a lot of people think we'd like it to be a Geordie, and Sean Longstaff nearly put his name in Newcastle history.
I thought it was in.
It was the 94th minute, 95th minute, whatever it was. Newcastle break on the counter, and they actually play it pretty well. It was probably one of the best kind of ways of going forward. Going forward, they actually did okay. Sean Longstaff found it on the edge of the box. The whole of the Newcastle fans and the gods in the San Siro saying shoot, and he did. What a save by the substitute goalkeeper.
Because when Maicon, when he goes off, pepper the goal, shoot, great save.
It's an unbelievable save. Fingertips over the crossbar, and Newcastle have a corner from that. Kieran Trippier, and there was a claim for a handball, but the referee basically said no and time's up, and it was looked at and still said no, that's absolutely fine. But Newcastle come away with a point, and it's a really good point under the circumstances. Since the game against Brentford and what we've had in terms of flights and X, Y, and Z, I think it's a very good point, and I'm sure Eddie Howe agrees it's a very good point. Eddie, what did you make of your first game as a Champions League manager for Newcastle United?
Our first thought wasn't to defend deep or to protect our goal. Far from it. That's not how we set the team up. We tried to be aggressive. We tried to try and get to the Milan centre-backs and the goalkeeper in their build-up phase. Mixed success, I'd say, with that. I thought we were a little bit loose sometimes in our defending during that first half, hence the number of chances that Milan created. But I thought we were, through the game, very good around our box. I thought we defended our 18-yard box superbly, and hence why we get the point. Yeah, I thought Sandro did well today. I think it was obviously an emotional occasion for him, not underestimating that coming back here, and how he'd have felt before the game, I'm sure, was unique to him. I don't think anyone else can quite describe how he would have felt going into the game. Yeah,
so that was Eddie Howe's thoughts after the point at the San Siro. we've never seen a Maximin Milan lead all, and we've never lost in Milan either that I can remember anyway. PSG did beat Borussia Dortmund in the other game by 2-0, and Mbappe and Hakimi with the goals, and that is who Newcastle will be taking on next at St James's Park in just under 2 weeks against Paris Saint-Germain. The table is up on your screen now if you want to see it. PSG top and Newcastle Milan second, third, and Dortmund bottom of the group, very, very early stages. And we'll go back to the kind of the point, if you like, Lee. It's a very, very good point under the circumstances, I think. Do you agree?
100%. If we played well and got a point in Milan, we would have been happy. I think because the performance wasn't quite up, there's a little bit of negativity there. But on the other side, the result outweighs that negativity for me, because it's a point in Milan, whether we played poorly or I think we played indifferently. I think there's some notable mentions defensively. We were great. But it's a point away at Milan. We stopped them scoring. Yes, I know they've been battered by Inter 5-1. Credit Milan's atmosphere as well. I thought it was superb at the other end. Opposite, it's probably the best home atmosphere I've experienced for a long, long time. Probably a few years. The Dortmund one, I'm looking forward to with that. But I think it's a great point on the board. Look, I think 10 points gets you through in the knockout round. And at that point, I said to you walking up off camera, I said, because you've picked up a point today, it'll guarantee you at least something to play for until the 5th game. So yeah, so it's a good point considering the circumstances. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point considering the circumstances. I want to quickly touch about Eddie Howe's tactics for today. Jacob Murphy in from the cold, Alexander Isak starting up top, Tonali coming in. Was the team selection right today?
I expected Tonali and Isak personally. I thought it would be Miggy on the right hand side. Just to cover that, Johnny. The fridge is over there if you want the fridge.
No, I didn't know what it was. That's what I was just having.
It's just a makeshift cupboard.
Is it?
We're Swiss hotels, by the way. That's why they're at my hotel because I'm next to the airport. But what was the question?
Just Eddie Howe's team selection.
The Jacob Murphy one was surprising. I thought he didn't play really, really well. But having said that, when Miggy come on, bloody hell, looked like a lost sheep, didn't he? Bless him. But there's some positives there. I think Tonali was coming back, got a great reception. But defensively, I think Dan Burn improved as the game went on. Same as Trippier, stronger, in particular 50-50s, winning little niggles, throw-ins. I thought the back two were handled really well. We haven't seen the highlights back. Obviously, there is some chances where there was just open misses by Milan. That could be one of those players, but we haven't seen it back. But overall, he kept a clean sheet at the San Siro, and it's what's the word I'm looking for? Muggy conditions. Because it's sticky, it's warm.
Humid, wasn't it?
Humid, yeah, and it's 27 degrees, just normal in Milan. I'm absolutely knackered myself.
I was just going to say it's a really good point, actually, because I think the heat played a lot, especially towards the back end of the game, because there was times when Newcastle were trying to go forward and you could just tell that
they were knackered. There wasn't any urgency, but I think that'll change now because the colder months are going to kick in. We're going to go into October. It's going to be 10 degrees, 11 degrees in October, and then it's going to be 5s in Novembers and Decembers when we've got the home game. So that'll help Newcastle. But look, the positive is that it's a point on the road, and people might twist, we didn't play well at Brentford, we didn't play well tonight, but we've won at Brentford, we've got a point in Milan. Who are Sunderland playing away at next? Definitely not Milan.
No, so
because they've been piping up on social media all week, praying that we got beat today and our day out as well.
Yeah, certainly. Champions League music at the San Siro and the whole ground going, the champions.
I wish they didn't play it in the warm-up though. There was at some point in the warm-up went, but because I was doing that, just loving it, lapping it in, and then they played it, obviously they have to when the players walk out, but got a few more of them, so everybody who couldn't get out of Milan, you'll experience it at St James's Park.
I had goosebumps. It was amazing. It's
just classy, isn't it? Because we've got the Premier League one, which we used to when that comes out, and there's no other theme song, but it was a good atmosphere. I think a few hangovers were nursing today. I think there was our atmosphere, I won't lie, was good and bad at spells, because I think there's just a few hangovers from the night before. The heat as well. I was next to two lads to my left when you went down to your seat. They were ill. They had sunstroke. Yeah. So they couldn't sing. So, but fantastic. It's a great time. I've a lot of money gone out of my pocket, but I've had a great couple of 48 hours or so, and I head back to the UK very early in the morning, as I say.
Yeah, onwards and upwards, and onwards and upwards too. Sheffield United. It doesn't stop. Doesn't stop me and Lee and Chris, who's behind the scenes. He's just having a little lie down, bless him.
Oh, you're all right.
We'll be.
He's been robbed tonight.
Yeah, he definitely has. We'll be at Bramall Lane on Sunday, 4:30 kick-off in the UK, which is probably the best thing for Newcastle, to be honest. They're trying to have a bit of a longer break, but 2 games down, 5 games to go before the next international break, and it haven't really started yet, let's be honest. Man of the match for me was Nick Pope. Do you agree?
He's probably going to get an eye. Tonali gets the emotional vote, but Pope, and like I say, the defenders grew in confidence as more the game went on. But yeah, Nick Pope's going to get it because they had 6 attempts on target first half. And yes, he should be saving a lot of them, but saves them, doesn't he?
He does, and that's why he's Newcastle.
Eddie Howe picked him up afterwards, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that was probably about right as well, considering the criticism after the Brighton game, which nobody played well, including Nick Pope. But yeah, he certainly deserved to be spoken about. And
took me longer to get to Brighton than it did to Milan. Honestly, it did. Even me driving to Manchester, because Manchester's 2 hours.
Yeah.
Hanging around waiting for the flight, delayed as well, and then the 2 hour flight that took me 5 hours. Brighton's longer. Jesus.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap things up. Yeah, get your comments in. What did you make of Newcastle's first point in the Champions League? It still feels weird saying that sentence, but it felt real today, watching that team against one of the giants of European football, the 7 times winners of the Champions League, AC Milan. Absolutely remarkable. What an occasion. Certainly something I'll not forget. I'm sure Lee Lawler won't forget, and the thousands of Newcastle United supporters that did that trip. But yeah, get your comments in. What did you make of the game? Who was your man of the match, and how do you think Newcastle will get on? Do you think they can get out of the group? Can they get into the groups, the knockout stages after getting through the group? I'm sure a lot of Newcastle fans will be feeling a little bit more optimistic after today. Like and subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV, and we'll see you at Bramall Lane on Sunday afternoon.
Arrivederci.